Hello everyone, welcome to the first day of class. So things are a bit different this semester than they've been in previous semesters. We hopefully will be able to make it work well, have fun with it. Okay, so let's get started. So hopefully you were all able to watch the very short introduction I posted on the homepage for on our course shell. It was just my face. I introduced who I was very briefly, and I said that I wouldn't get too far into anything then because today is the day we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So, but if you didn't get a chance to see that, it's like 2 minutes. If you didn't get a chance to see that, that's fine, because if we didn't, I basically just told you who I was. That was it. So there are two things we're going to be talking about today. One is the syllabus, of course. It's a standard for the first day. We're just going to go over some of the details. I'll let you guys know how this course is going to run, so there's no confusion. Although if there is confusion, obviously feel free to email me any questions that you might have. And the other thing is that I have a PowerPoint that I present on the first day. It's not related to any of the lessons that we're going to go over, but it's a little bit of like get to know me, and ideally if we were in the classroom setting, I would be able to get to know you guys a little better, although I can't really do that with it being an online class. But hopefully we'll still be able to have fun with it. Anyway, okay. So just to kind of let you guys know, because you might be wondering as you're watching this video, like, I can't see the PowerPoint. How does this work? So when I started doing the remote, online courses last semester, there were a few options, and I know some of my colleagues did a few of the other options, and I would say based on what I tried and what worked and what didn't, and what other colleagues tried and what worked and what didn't, plus just the level of technology that I have available to me. The best option I found was to record a video. So this video is just me talking, and you can't see it, but off screen I have my PowerPoint pulled up on my laptop, because I'm recording on my iPad. So the video quality of my iPad's way better than my old computer. So there's that. I know there is an app where you can. One of my colleagues had done this. An app where you can record yourself on your laptop, and so it'll show like your face next to the PowerPoint, like, so you as a student would have just one video. The only thing is the video quality is not great, and I feel like having a better video quality, especially when you guys are seeing me, is gonna make the class better. You don't want to see me little tiny shitty quality. You don't want to have just my voiceover. I feel like that's just not going to work very well. I think it's better to have a more lively interaction as best as we can. So anyway, so this is what my students did last semester, and it seemed to work, and so I'm going to continue this. I just recorded a video, so you have access to this video right now, but also you have access to the PowerPoint. So ideally you would pull up the PowerPoint on the side, and then my video, and you'd have both of them, and so you have the option to make one bigger or smaller, or just watch the video first, or just look at the PowerPoint first. It's really up to you how you want to do that. But so as I'm going through the PowerPoint off screen, hopefully you have yours pulled up as you're watching this video, and I will be very clear, like, okay, we're on this PowerPoint, we're on slide 7, slide 8. So like I said, I did this last semester, and there weren't any problems with it, and in fact, I would say based on my conversations with colleagues who tried other ways, doing just a voiceover or doing them side by side, I don't think it worked as well as they were hoping. Anyway, so hopefully that clears that up, and so we'll get started. So right now I am looking at the PowerPoint. It's titled Anthropology 101, Fall 2020. There are quite a few slides, and most of these are pictures. So this is just a little get to know me. We'll do this first, and then we'll go into the syllabus stuff. So, okay, so there's the cover page. That's okay. So now we're on slide 2. So hopefully, just to confirm that you are all looking at the same PowerPoint that I am. It's slide 2 says meet your professor. There's a picture of me with red hair, and it says Alicia Pettit. That should be the first slide you're seeing. So if you're seeing another one, then pause the video and then find that PowerPoint. But it'll be available to you in our Canvas shell. Okay, anyway. So this is a little bit of get to know me. So if you watched that really short video I posted the other day, you obviously saw my face. I told you my name. I didn't really tell you anything else because I didn't want to ramble, because I figured I would do that on this video. So you can see here listed on the PowerPoint, I have a bachelor's in anthropology that I got at CSU Sacramento. I have a master's in anthropology with a focus in paleoanthropology and evolutionary psychology that I got at CSU Sacramento. So I got my master's in 2015, and I moved here in 2015. And I am currently working on my PhD at UNLV. Taking a little longer than I would have hoped, but there's some legitimate reasons for that. I'll get into that in a second. Okay, anyway, so, and also as we go through these, you might be thinking, wow, like she has a lot of different hairstyles. I do. I used to dye my hair a lot. And also I wear wigs sometimes, which as we go throughout the semester and you see these videos, you will see my hair changing. You know, you gotta have a little fun sometimes. Okay, anyway. So if you go down to the next slide, mine wants to load. Hello, come on. Slide 3, there we go. So, like I just said, I am a PhD student at UNLV, but I'm an advanced student, so I'm like, for those of you who aren't really familiar with how grad school works, I'm a student technically, but I'm at the point where I'm you know, conducting my own research, finalizing my dissertation information. I'm you know, a research assistant for my graduate advisor. But I also have I have a full-time job working for CSN, and I actually am faculty at the UNLV School of Medicine. I think I'm actually getting a little ahead of myself. Anyway, but you can see here on slide 3, you can see some of the things like for the paleoanthropology lab at UNLV. I am a paleoanthropologist, so if you're like, I don't know what these terms are that she's using, when we go over, I think on the next lesson, you know, what is anthropology, we'll go into all of this. So if you're not really clear on when I say paleoanthropology or anthropology or whatever, well, it'll be clear later, or you can just Google it, you know. Okay, anyway, so you're seeing some pictures of the lab, and there's also some pictures of some computer shop, like stuff, some research I had done. That might not, some of that might just mean nothing to you. Some of this will make sense later, but just, you know, some cool pictures. Okay, slide 4. So now you can see me looking very different in multiple pictures. Okay, so the first one on the left is me with 2 of my colleagues at the School of Medicine, where I work as part-time faculty. There I have, if you're like, which one is, hopefully, obviously, I'm the very tall one, so I'm very tall. Well, actually, I'm tall, but my colleagues are also short, so the difference in the photo looks really funny. But I had long red hair, bangs, very cute, but that's me. So that was actually in 2016 when I started working there. And then of course there's also me again in that middle picture with very, very short hair, also at the School of Medicine. And then the picture on the right, I'm also in that picture. I'm the one with pointing at the screen. So hopefully you see kind of behind that group of people, there's the virtual anatomy table. That's what we use over there instead of cadavers, where everything's virtual. So I'm giving like a tutorial on that, and I'm the one with the blonde hair and bangs. That's a wig. Okay, scrolling down, so slide 5, sorry. So these are just a few, you know, fun pictures of me at some conferences. I think that's the next couple of slides. So if you are, you know, if you're just starting out your academic career, maybe you just graduated high school, or you've only been at CSN for like a year or so, conferences are a really good opportunity to network with people in your field, even at this early stage. If you're like, you know, I think I might want to, you know, really get a bachelor's or maybe a master's or something in this field, it's always good to meet like-minded people who may be your future colleagues. And it also kind of, it gets you excited about interesting research, even at this early stage, and you might want to have a research project. But definitely at the graduate student level, at the bachelor's level too, but definitely at the graduate student level, conferences are a big deal. Like, you do your own research, you present at conferences, you know, either in a formal presentation to a group, or like a poster presentation with all the data. So this is very normal, and so you get to travel a lot, which is fun. You know, you can, you know, sometimes they're close. So the ones that are on this slide right here, slide 5, SWABA 2018, that was at ASU. You can see that in the picture. So that's only a few hours away. So I had a nice little day trip, which is through Sedona, which was gorgeous. If you have not been there, it's like, I'm planning a trip to go back. It's beautiful. Arizona in general is just a beautiful state. But then you can see on the picture the AAPAs in 2019. That was in Cleveland, so not the most exciting place, and it was like storming the whole time, like raining and lightning storms, but it was still, you know, interesting to travel. That was always fun. Let's see, so the next slide 6. So SWABA 2018, that was actually in Vegas. So SWABA stands for Southwestern Association of Biological Anthropologists. So that's only like in the southwestern states. So that's it's kind of a smaller conference. That's my favorite conference. It's smaller. it's people who focus on their research is focused on a lot of stuff that I do or similarly versus some of the larger conferences like the APAs. That's like people come from around the world, hundreds of people versus like SWABA is like, I don't know, maybe like 50 people. So you know those people, and we also kind of live in the same part of the country, so we visit the same schools a lot. Anyway, pros and cons to both. Anyway, so the APAs, you can see there's a picture, that's a very silly picture of me. AAP's 2017, that was in New Orleans, so that was like a really cool city to be in. You know, I stayed a couple extra days and got to kind of see the city a bit, so that's always cool. And then, oh yes, so this is very exciting. So slide 7, so I was in Ethiopia in late December, early January of 2019 to 2020. I was very nervous. But it was just an amazing experience. I was there for about 12 days, but travel time was like more than 2 weeks because as you can, it's like literally on the other side of the world. It took me 4 flights and almost 50 hours. I mean, that's including, you know, like layovers and stuff, but 50 hours from leaving my apartment to going to the airport in Vegas to getting to my hotel room in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia it was like 50 hours. It was insane. I was miserable. Like I was so tired. Like I've traveled and I've been on planes before, but this was the first, like, because you're sitting for so long. I got off the plane. I had my first flight was Vegas to Boston, which was like, you know, so easy. But then the next one was Boston to Qatar, and that was like a 12-hour flight. And I got off the flight and I was like, why do my feet feel weird? And I looked at my feet; they were so swollen. Like I knew what it was, but it had never happened before. It was so uncomfortable. And luckily, my aunt, she's a nurse. And so I was like sending her pictures, and she's like, "You're fine. Just elevate your feet." I'm like, "Where?" You know, it was a whole thing. But like, but finally, you know, getting to the hotel after like basically 2 days of like no shower and like shitty food, and it was just like, but the experience was amazing. We got to work, myself and a colleague, we worked at the National Museum, and you can see this in this picture, like some of the pictures from the museum. We did some research work, and we did a little research, but the main purpose of the trip was to take a 3D scanner and 3D printer as a gift to the museum for future like networking and research possibilities, and to train the employees there on how to use it. So that's why we were there for so long. So if you go to the next picture, there might be, or the next slide, so slide 8, you can see me at a restaurant. By the way, the food there is the best food I've ever had. If you have never had Ethiopian food, like, oh my God, it's so good. It is so good. And if you've had it, you know, it's like, it's just amazing. The flavors, the types of food is just incredible. But being there, the food's like amazing. And the coffee is like the best coffee I've ever had. Ethiopian wine, Ethiopian beer is so good too. Like, oh, I want to go back just for the food. It's so good. But okay, so anyway, so on the slide, you can also see some of the other museum employees. I think one picture you can kind of see me in the background. I'm like teaching the people, you know, and you can see one shot is of the 3D scanner. So we did that. So that was a very cool trip. Okay. Next slide, slide 9. So a little bit more about me as a person. And, you know, I want you guys to kind of get to know who I am a little bit, because I feel like as I'm teaching you guys, I'm gonna, especially for this class, for the cultural class, I use a lot of personal examples because it's a good way of, you know, getting your point across. And if we were in class, obviously I would ask you for personal examples. That can't really quite happen. But anyway, getting to know me is important, I think, because you're gonna, like, how do I phrase it? Like, I don't want to be just like a robot in a screen that you watch a video and like, oh, I learned something. Like, I want you guys to be engaged and stuff. So I feel like you guys getting to know me is going to be useful in that. Anyway, my dog's climbing. Okay. So this slide 9, you see, so some of my hobbies, I love to bake and cook. Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday. I go crazy. Also, I have listed there that I'm a vegan. So I call it vegan Thanksgiving. We have a big thing. All my friends come over and I just go insane. But also, like, I love to just bake in general. So I'm always baking like cookies or cupcakes and stuff. So there's some donuts. You can see the picture of those. So I love to do that. Let's see, next slide, slide 10, slide 10. I should probably update this. I guess technically I'm still learning to ride, although, like, I don't know, when I made this a couple months ago, I was in the midst of learning, but with everything kind of going on, you know, with everything being closed, it has not been happening. Still a dream, still on my, bucket list, and it will happen. I have all the equipment. So yes, but a big, huge desire and dream of mine to be able to, ride a motorcycle. I started taking lessons, and so I've started, but I just haven't completed it. So, plus I'm not going to be buying a bike anytime soon, so there's no rush. Anyway, next slide. I'm acting very surprised. I made this PowerPoint. I don't know why I'm surprised. Okay, I love wine. And this is a funny thing. So if you're looking at this PowerPoint, the one with dark hair, that's my hair, and the one with blonde hair, that is a wig. It's very strange. I noticed this when I was making this PowerPoint. It's very strange. I'm wearing the same dress in both of those pictures. It is not like my wine drinking dress. I don't know why. Just very strange coincidence, but it's a cute dress. I do love. Who doesn't love wine? And if you don't, well, oh God, some of you probably aren't old enough to drink. I keep forgetting that. Some of you are very young. If you are of age to drink, wine is amazing. I love wine. It's the best. Okay. I don't want you guys to think I'm like an alcoholic. Okay, so slide 12. My babies. Okay, so I have two. So I think you've already seen Waffle in the background already. So Waffle is the cream colored one. Alice is the black one. They are adorable adopted sisters. They're not like bio sisters. They are both 10. I've had them for a long time. I love them to death. And they are spoiled princesses, of course, as you can see from these pictures. But they are just so much personality. I'm sure at some point this semester Waffle will be trying to get in my lap as I'm recording. Next slide 13. So I also have two rats, Maggie and Carol. And I had a hamster named Tater or Tater Tot. She passed away recently, but she was the cutest. So that was very sad. But I still have my other 4 girls, all girls. Maggie and Carol are a little standoffish with me. I rescued them. They were going to be snake food. So their first, few weeks of life was a little traumatic. But they have a good life now. Hopefully they understand that, appreciate that. And also, if any of you have ever dealt with rats or had pet rats, they're really smart. I joke, they're like little dogs. They have so much personality, and of course they have those little hands, it's so cute. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, so slide 14. I listed my 2 favorite books. You might be thinking, who cares? I don't care. But if you were like, I wonder. The Selfish Gene. I've read this book a few times. It's very good. Actually, a lot of stuff by Richard Dawkins is really good. And I just read this other book, The Bell Curve. And this will probably come up later in this class. I might actually reference this book for some of the lessons. So, it's a very long book. So I'm not telling you go out and buy it or read it. But if you Googled it and you're like, I wonder, you have my recommendation that's a good book. Okay, so a little bit more about me. Obviously, like all of us, I, have love spending time with friends. So you can see here, I've got some pictures of me with friends and my hair. Okay, let's see. So the first picture is me and my cousin. This was my birthday last year, so that's my hair. It's short and blonde. But then the middle picture, that's me and my best friend Mark. That's a wig. The long, what's it, raspberry colored one? That's a wig. Then there's me and Mark again with my blonde hair. I have extensions. Ooh, Waffle's got some allergies. Ooh, baby. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Ooh, I think she's okay. Those allergies. Okay. I'm not going to go through each of these pictures. You can just see me, and these are all within the last couple of years. So, but you can see, me with some of my friends, and then of course family. So I do not have children. I do not want children. We'll get into that. I think this semester we'll actually be talking about that in detail. But I have 2 nieces who I adore, and they came and visited with their mom in June, and we had a blast. A lot of stuff was closed, but you can see from the pictures, we went out to 7 Magic Mountains, and we did a little hike, and then we went out, we went out to dinner a couple places. We all dressed up. You can see in the pictures, we all dressed up like I let them wear some of my clothes, and like we would like pin them in the back, and because these girls are so tiny, you know, but I happened to have a lot of clothes that looked kind of similar, and so we went out like all matched. It was like a blast. It was a blast. And then I actually visited them. I went and visited them in July. They live in California, in Sacramento, where I'm from. So I love spending time with him. Okay, now to get a little more serious. So now we're moving on to slide 17. Sharing something very personal with you all. So as it says on the PowerPoint slide, in 2017, so actually it was almost 3 years exactly, I was diagnosed with cancer. No family history, I had no reason to, and I was young. I was, can I do math? I was 34 when I was diagnosed. And no family history. I had found a lump in my breast, and I went into the doctor pretty much right away, and I thought it's probably nothing. And the doctor even said, like, they said it's probably nothing, but she said, keep an eye on it, and if in the next, couple months it changes shape or it becomes more uncomfortable or painful, like, come in. So I waited it was maybe like 4 months, and I was like, this thing seems to be getting bigger. I need to go. Even if it's a cyst, even if it's like not cancer, it can still be problematic. So I'm like, I have to go back to the doctor if they have to remove this or drain out. Like, I don't know what it was. And she's like, this is concerning. So she sent me in for a biopsy, or mammogram first. Mammogram came back as suspicious. They sent me in for a biopsy. Biopsy came back positive for breast cancer, and at that point, it had already metastasized to my lymph nodes. Now, I was very fortunate that the type of cancer I had is one that is, there's a lot of research on. So the treatment plan was very like standardized already. She's like, this is what we're gonna do. We caught it, I was stage 2. I'm sorry, I was thinking. She basically said, we have a whole treatment plan. You're gonna do chemotherapy. You're gonna have surgery, radiation, medication, but with the type you have and all these other things you have going for you, your age, your health, you have like a 90% chance, it was like 91 or something % chance of totally, coming out the other end of this, not the same person health-wise, but getting through, and we can remove that cancer and keep it from coming back, ideally, and so that's what happened. I had a really tough, the first year, and this is, you can see in the pictures, I had very long hair, and I cut it all off before chemo. I went through almost 5 months of chemotherapy, which, if you have experienced this or anyone else in your life has experienced this, is the worst thing I've ever been through in my whole entire life. It was horrific. And when you see it, like, I had no idea, because I had no cancer that ran in my family. I had no idea what I was in for. And like, you see it in movies and stuff, you're like, oh, that seems like really shitty, but I'm gonna tell you, like, it was traumatic. Yes, it was horrible. But you go through it because you're hoping at the end of it it's worth it. And then I ended up having to have 2 surgeries, and then I went through 6 weeks of radiation treatment, which is not fun either, but not as bad as the chemo. The chemo was by far the worst. And then, as time went on, my hair started growing back, and I got a little healthier, got more color, and yeah. And these are like some of these pictures you're seeing of me during treatment. These are like the good pictures. Like, it changes you. It changes you in a lot of really horrible ways when you're going through. But anyway, my hair's growing back. This is the length that it's, so it's getting there. And as it's grown out, I've had fun with some of the colors and stuff. And this is why I have so many wigs, is because going through chemo, like when I had the energy after chemo, and then, before my hair really grew back, I wore wigs. And then now, because I bought a couple, but then after that, like more recently, like after treatment, I was like, wigs are fun, it's kind of fun to change it up. And like, you can get them like really reasonably priced on Amazon, and they're fun. Anyway. Okay, so moving on, I think I just kind of reiterate some of these points. So on slide 18, this is accurate. It just kind of disturbed my life in multiple ways for like a year and a half, and I'm still kind of recovering, like health-wise. I'm still in recovery, because I'm still on like lots of medication to keep it from coming back. But I have some permanent damage to my body from the chemotherapy. I have permanent nerve damage in my legs. I've got to go to like physical therapy. So it's still a process, and then trying to like keep a full-time job and also progress through my PhD program. It's been difficult, but I'm getting there. Okay, so now you have gotten to know me. So this would be like, so if you're looking at this PowerPoint, like I said, this would be ideal if we were in class. I would be like, okay, I told you about me, now I get to know you. So just do this, I guess, like on your own at home, or if you happen to maybe be in a group of students, like maybe there's a few of you who are friends who are taking the class together, you can still kind of do this together. But this is just for fun. Okay, so I would say, if we were in class, I would say raise your hand if you feel comfortable. Okay, let's see, let me know. Slide 21, so, hello, slide 20, sorry. Raise your hand if you, 21, have a Tinder account. So, in your mind, you don't have to raise your hand, obviously, to no one. I asked this question because, usually in class, everyone's like, hee hee, and no one's honest about it yet, right? Okay, you guys, I know some of you have a Tinder account. Or, per the next question on slide 22, use any kind of dating app. This is important because we're going to talk about, like, mating strategies among humans, how technology changes who we are culturally, so this is important. And usually people have some really great stories about this, so I can tell you some of my stories, but some of the next questions, so slide 23, are you married? I'm sorry, my mouse is like deciding it doesn't want to work. Hello, come on. Or slide 24, do you want to be married one day? So in this class, we'll be talking about marriage, what that means, like religiously, culturally, personally, how do we see this changing, like generationally? What are the influences on that? So that's a very interesting topic. What about, and then of course to go with this question on slide 25, how many of you are like, I don't want to be married at all? I reject that idea. Very interesting. Slide 26, how many of you practice monogamy? So some of you in the class will say, oh, like I know what she means by that question, and some will say, I'm not really sure exactly what she means. So I mean, like, how many of you, whether you're currently in a relationship or, had been in the past or plan to be, that it's just you and one other person, and you are together in a monogamous relationship. It means you don't see anyone else. You don't cheat. You don't bring in third people or fourth people it's just the two of you, which is the standard. For most people, nothing, but there are, and per, I think the next question, so slide 27, do you practice any form of non-monogamy? So are you polyamorous? Do you have an open relationship? There's usually one or two students in the class who would say yes, and then they would elaborate. We don't have that opportunity now, but very interesting. We'll be talking about that later in the semester. Slide 28, how many of you have children or want children? And then slide 29, or how many of you are child free? You're like, I don't want kids. It's just not it's not a thing for me. It's never gonna happen. I would raise my hand to that. I am 37 years old. I do not want kids. I don't have any. I will not. And actually, I had a procedure done. Like, I cannot have them now. I don't want them. I don't regret that decision. It's just not for everyone. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, slide 30. How many of you how many of you are Generation X, Gen Xers? I'm a Gen Xer. So there, like, it depends on where you're looking up, like, where's the cutoff? Is it like, because I've seen everything from like 1982 to like, or like 81, 82, 85, 86, 79, like so I always go with 85. I feel like that's a solid year, 85. So if you're born before 1985, as I was, usually in the class there's like one or two older students. The majority of you are going to say you were not born. You go to the next slide. You were born after 1985. So slide 31. You were born after 1985. You'd be a millennial. And now I think we're at the point where, like, some of my I'd have to think, like, here's the thing about these. A lot of these, like, are you a Gen X or are you a millennial? Are you, what's the next one? Oh God, I should know that. I'll look it up. Or like before, like, my mom's a baby boomer. Typically what you see are like 20-year, what's the word I'm thinking of? 20-year sections? That's not the right word. You guys know what I'm saying. But it seems as if for like millennials, it's not 20 years. It's not 85 to 2005. I'm seeing a lot of like, oh, because of the way technology has really changed, we don't just go 20 years like with boomers and Gen Xers. It's like 85 to like 99 or so. I don't know. So like you personally, some of my younger students might say, oh, I don't think I'm a millennial. And some of these aren't just the year. They'd be like, well, yeah, maybe you were born in 1984, let's say, for example, but you have more in common with millennials because of blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. But as a general cutoff, I would say like 85 is the year. And later on in the semester, we'll be talking about some of those generational differences. Okay, slide 32. How many of you are an anthropology major? In this intro course, I assume most of you are just taking it as like your social sciences requirement. But there's always one or two who are major, who have declared a major or who are interested. 33, how many of you don't really know what anthropology is? That is totally fine. I get a number of students every semester who aren't sure. In fact, I will tell you, many years ago, when I had to fulfill my science requirement for my associate's degree, I was looking and I was like, oh, biological anthropology. I don't know what that is. I'll sign up for it. I signed up for it and it changed my life. I'll talk about that a little bit, I think, next lesson. So I didn't know, just to let you know, your own professor, instructor, like did not know what anthropology was when she took her very first anthropology class. So if that's you, do not feel bad. How many of you are religious? So religion will be something we talk about this semester, like from a cultural perspective. And how many of you, so slide 35, how many of you do not practice any form of religion? So probably a lot of variation in that in this class. Slide 36, usually this gets a lot of interesting conversations. I wish we could have these conversations. How many of you think the man should pay on the first date? Some students usually say, oh, well, yeah. Some would say no. I get a lot of students I would even say maybe the last year or so, who would say, well, I think the person who should pay is the person who asked the other person out, whether that's the male or the female. Like, they should be the one to pay. I'm like, oh, that seems fair. And then the next slide 37, how many of you think that you should just split the check? And most people would say, oh, yeah. But I get a few people who were like, no, I don't think I don't think you should do that. It's not appropriate. Or I like when you can see the interesting perspectives. The worst thing to happen in any of these classes is like everyone agrees. I want to see, those different perspectives, and hopefully we get a little bit of that. I know it's not the same type of like interaction we have. If I get the opportunity to have some kind of live class, I would love that. But also, with some of your feedback from like emails and whatnot, I might be able to integrate some of that into the discussions. Okay. Anyway. Slide 38, how many of you live with your significant other but are not married? So you guys are young, so I'm assuming probably not a lot of you. But there might be a few. Okay, slide 39, how many of you know the steps to the scientific method? If we were in class, I would ask you and everyone would kind of raise their hand because they don't want me to call on them, right? I'm like, I'm not going to ask you to name them. But how many of you, like, if you had a moment, you'd be like, yeah, okay, observation, hypothesis, like, you probably know them, like, in the back of your mind. Slide 40, how many of you know the difference between mitosis and meiosis? Like, if you were, like, just on a basic, very simple, like, superficial level, do you know the difference? We'll be talking about that in this class. You might be thinking, we are in the cultural class. I mean, I have, like, probably, like, one slide about it. We have a day where we talk about some evolutionary theory. As it's important when we talk about humans and cultural changes that we have a little emphasis on some of the biology. It'll be very important. So really very briefly we'll talk about that. 41, how many of you know the difference between a monkey and an ape? They're all primates. Does anyone know? It is a tail. Can you guess which one has a tail? It is a monkey. Monkeys have tails. Apes do not. Humans, we are apes. We're primates, we are apes. We have no tail. Chimpanzees are an ape, no tail. Gorillas, ape, no tail. Orangutans, bonobos, gibbons, ape, no tail. That's how you know. And then 42. Okay, 42 is just to raise your hand. Okay, so then I have a series of some people, and this is just to kind of gauge where you guys are at in terms of like who do you recognize in terms of like politicians or celebrities, some more recent, some not. So we have a picture of Ronald Reagan. I would ask like, who knows who this is? And then we've got Ruth Bader Ginsburg. 45, Catherine Cortez Masto. You should know who 46, Barack Obama, everyone knows. 47, Lady Gaga, love her. 48, Beyonce. 49, Freddie Mercury. I usually actually, surprisingly, a lot of students who know who that is. And also, well, they made the movie like last year or something. 50, who knows who this is? Slide 50. Typically, the picture you usually see of him, he's older. So if we were in class, I would wait, give you guys a chance, but I'll just, it's Charles Darwin. When he's young and excited about everything. Slide 51, Jane Goodall, very famous primatologist, worked with chimpanzees. We will talk a little bit about her this semester. And Stephen Hawking, number 52. Okay, so that's it for the PowerPoint. Should I start a separate video for the syllabus? I'm gonna do that. So it's not all in one video. Okay, so that was easier to kind of make sure how much room I have on my memory. Okay, so that is it for Let's Get to Know Each Other. I'll make a separate video where we go over the syllabus, but I'll have them both available on the same day. In fact, I'm just gonna like stop this recording, get a few things set up, and like just record it right now. So hopefully that gives you guys a good idea of who I am, my personality. Oh my God, personality a little bit. Some of my hobbies. An introduction to some of the things we'll be talking about later in the semester. Hopefully this also sets the tone for this will be a very fun, relaxed class. I will tell you right now, this is I'm not tricking you guys. I'm not trying to make this class super hard. Really, it is my goal for you guys to be excited about this class and learn some really cool stuff. It is not a hard class. If you just watch the videos and do the homework, you will do completely fine. And I will go into that in a little more detail in the next video about the syllabus. Okay, so definitely watch that one.